So, one thing that I've wondered about is what is the actual logic of the political compass test? Does it actually make sense? And I'm talking about the original test, right? Like, why would they formulate this political model? Now, I went and read the descriptions that they have of their models, but it doesn't really make clear what's what. What's authoritarianism? What is democracy? What is, this actual stuff? So I found this website on the left here, which actually tells you what axis each question corresponds with. So using this, I can actually go through this test and say, like, okay, this affects this axis. Now, spoiler alert, the understanding that people currently have of this test is that this axis here, this is like anarchism down here. Up here, this is like people that want a strong authoritarian state. On the left, it's where they want the people to be in charge, like the broad masses. And on the right, they want like corporations to be in charge, or they want like, a more like atomized, individualized economic system where everyone's out for themselves rather than collective, right? And this understanding is not it's not right. It's not right. I would say it's a bit skewed from what this actual test is. Now, a lot of people who are nerds about this type of crap will already say, like, okay, well, this test is bad, but we made tests that reflect the actual political categories. Well, that's not how it works, okay? That is not how it works. See, the cultural misunderstanding which came from this test has caused people to create new tests based on the cultural misunderstanding which was created by this pseudo-scientific test. So let's go into this. So the first thing to understand about this is that is precisely the goal of this political compass. Beyond all of the babble, right? Look at this. To question the logic of individual questions that irritate you is to miss the point. Your responses shouldn't be overthought. Some of them are intentionally vague. The purpose is to trigger reactions in the mind, measuring feelings and prejudices, rather than detailed opinions on policy. Do you understand? So the purpose of this test is to create some type of political intuition. And I'm going to admit, politics, it can't just be about logic. There is some level of intuitive understanding. But, like, you're not actually supposed to think about this test. Why? Why would you make a test and say you're not supposed to think about this test when it's asking about, like, actual, like, policy questions? Well, why would they do that? So here we go. So, if economic globalization is inevitable, it should serve humanity, right? So we agree with that, right? So I click agree, strongly agree, and I go over here and click agree, and what happens to the dot? It goes to the economic left. Now, that is something that I think we could anticipate, right? I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. Now, this is one where you'd say, okay, well, if I agree with it, does that make me more authoritarian? Or does that make me more economically right-wing because I'm supporting, an individual economic sovereignty rather than a more, like, collective internationalist view? So you have to wonder, which way does it go? So I'm going to disagree with that. And then, oh, okay, so apparently this is the social axis. So here's, already we're seeing the first flaw in this test's logic, which is this idea that nationalism is not an economic phenomenon. Nationalism is a social and not economic phenomenon, which is not true. Not true at all. I mean, free trade, tariffs, That's like scratching the surface. I mean, already it's very strange, right? So no one chooses, so it's foolish to be proud of it. I mean, disagree with that. Okay. So, that's another, it's nationalism, right? So of course our race has many superior qualities compared to other races. Disagree. And okay, nationalism. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's is this an authoritarian thing, right? Starts with T, right? These aren't numbered, but it starts with T, and I'm trying to follow along. So which axis is this on? This is on the authoritarian axis. So if you believe that the enemy of your enemy is your friend, you are more of an authoritarian, apparently. Why? Why? I don't understand that. I agree, but like kind of. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Yeah, because who makes the laws, right? Now, again, you go here, it's that authoritarian thing. This doesn't make sense. So apparently, authoritarianism, now this actually corresponds with the US imperialist model of thinking. Authoritarianism is when you want national sovereignty. So military action that defies international law. Well, who makes the laws? Who makes these international laws? Isn't it more authoritarian for an international system of laws to be imposed on sovereign nations than for those nations to act in their own interests? Well, no, because every single authoritarian dictator, that we talk about in America, the problem we have with them, the reason we want to overthrow their government is because they're subverting the authoritarian international system created by America. But of course, nationalism is authoritarian, says the political compass nerd logic, Like whoever made this test is like a US imperialist, pro US imperialist who thinks in this very institutional pro imperialist way, this globalist imperialist way, but at the same time they're like a nerd who can't make sense of reality particularly well, that they've created these axioms behind their test which are complete bullshit. There's now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. So if you disagree, then you're like, pro propaganda, I suppose. You're excusing propaganda, so you're more authoritarian. That kind of makes sense. All right, page 2. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. I mean, I disagree because it's so contextual. I mean, like now we're getting to the economic axis. So I don't even know, exactly what the thought is here, other than the fact that now nationalism in the previous set of questions corresponded with, economic authoritarianism. Now in the second set of questions, nationalism in the sense of like, well, no, because the previous one said my race is superior. Now saying people are more divided by nationality, this is somehow hitting the economic axis. So how is this question more economic nationalist than the questions about people being divided by race? It doesn't make sense. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. It's a catch-22, right? Okay, so apparently, if you think that we need to control inflation more, then you're economically right-wing. So it kind of makes sense, but for the average person, like you're a communist, right? If you're a communist, you understand that having a job and not being able to afford things, like not having a job and not being able to afford things, neither of these choices are what, you know. Anyway, because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Okay, I agree with that, right? They always dump and do all this stuff. Right, so, you know, this regulation stuff kind of makes sense on the economic left-right axis to me. From each according to his need, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. Now, I agree with that, right? But this is one of the cases where this test, you know, it's marking you left, right, which makes sense. This is one of those cases where the test is relying on intuitions, because if you're in a libertarian mindset, you've heard this phrase, oh, this is how Marxist communists justify their ideology. You know, you've been propagandized to see this phrase and immediately think, oh, that's communism. That's how they, you know, create a totalitarian system. You know, that's how. But think about the actual meaning of these words for a second. From each according to his ability, meaning if you're able to work, you should work. To each according to his need, meaning if you're hungry, you get fed. What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with this idea. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And if you think otherwise, again, it's because of that brainwashing, and this test doesn't want you to think about the questions. The freer the market, the freer the people. Which people? You know, which people? I kind of agree. This is another economic left-right thing, right? But the paradox here is that this right-wing ideology of, you know, free markets, well, the free markets then create monopolies, which are not very free. Whereas the authoritarian, you know, system with, say, a bunch of state-owned industry then actually creates a system where you can have like an umbrella of, you know, like micro entrepreneurship. You know, you can actually create fertile ground for innovation and a freer market. The communist countries have freer markets now. You know, it's no longer Soviet communism. The communist countries have a freer market than the capitalist ones. So, you know, Anyway, it's a sad reflection on our society. Something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled brand consumer product. I mean, you know, I guess I kind of agree, but what if we're getting it out of wells or something, or creeks, like that's somehow better? No, it's not somehow better. This is an economic left-right thing. So apparently, you shouldn't like commodities. If you're economic left-wing, even though you like want to serve the people and you want to have like, the only way to be economically left wing is to have mass production and to serve the people through production. But commodities are bad. Like, you're not supposed to have commodities. This is like that Frankfurt School ideology. They take Marx's notion of like commodity fetishization and alienation, and they extend it to this stupid, insidious idea that everyone calls left wing, that we simply shouldn't have like mass industry and commodity production. And they say that's Marxist. No, the Marxists say that we need to guide production towards social ends. That's the point of Marxism. Not that we need to not have it at all. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I do agree with that. Again, you know, left, right, okay, sure. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to society. I strongly agree with that. Now, this one's interesting to me because I think that there's a bind here, because the libertarians who are right-wing, they don't like the bailouts. They see the 2008 bailouts as big government out of control. We need smaller government so that we don't have, you know, these bailouts. But at the same time, they would probably disagree with this and say, well, no, because I want to get mine. I want to have mine. And if I get money by moving money around, that's fine, right? But the only way you get money by moving money around is when the state allows that to continue, because otherwise you end up with Great Depressions and, other stuff. So, I mean, it's again this bind where the economic left-right axis is not a true dichotomy. It doesn't truly describe these political differences. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Well, absolutely, right? Absolutely. Now, again, this is interesting. This is economically left-right. So let's think about this for a moment, because protectionism allows you to develop and strengthen your national economy on an individualist basis. So how is strengthening your individual nation, how is that somehow more economically left-wing than more like free trade, which anyway, I suppose, but it just begs the question, what is actually meant by economic left and economic right? What is actually meant? The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver profit to its shareholders. Okay, we disagree with that, right? Strongly disagree with that. We know what happens, and that does make sense, okay? The rich are too highly taxed. This is another case, because look, if I answer disagree, tax the rich. That's left wing. But I understand what taxes are. Many don't. See, taxation is used to stabilize right-wing systems. Taxation is a form of friction which slows down economic growth and development in order to create social services, which in right-wing capitalist systems is used to slow down the system, which is, kind of chewing people up and spitting them out for the sake of maximum growth. Right? And which causes unrest and problems. So the right wing argues to stabilize the system through taxation. But communists don't say that. Communists might say that we need to, as Marx might say, wrest by degree all capital from the hands of the bourgeoisie. But wrest capital from them. That doesn't mean taxation. That means seizing the means of production, the land and factories, and all of this, right? Maybe not all of it, maybe not 100%, but by degree, seizing it for the people. That doesn't mean taxation. In fact, those industries now in the hands of the people, they should be low taxed. They should not be high taxed. Now, I'm going to disagree with this based on the way things currently are. But I mean, it's again another misconception, another failure of this economic left-right axis. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. I mean, think about this. Think about this for a minute. Do you really, we have enough doctors and medicine for everyone, right? I assume. I think we do. But I mean, given the choice for a surgery that's expensive, say it takes 500 man-hours of top doctors and surgeons to do it, would you rather do that surgery on some drunk in the streets or someone who's worked their way up to actually, contribute something major to society? I mean, I don't know. I do kind of agree with this. And this is going to be another economic left-right failure, because if you agree with it, apparently you're more right-wing. Apparently you're more right-wing. I think that actually requiring people to work more for the collective benefit of the country is the thing. See, right now, those with the ability to pay, many of them are just useless people. They don't deserve to have all this money. They've mismanaged their money. they don't deserve it. But yet they still get access to high standards of care, and many hardworking working class people don't have access to good medicine, or it's unaffordable. So clearly that's true, but if you're forward thinking, why would you dole out the highest standards of medical care to people that are useless to the broader society? I mean, doesn't make sense. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Absolutely. Lying, lying, it's one of the worst things you can do. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Now, this one is going to be another... What? This doesn't even change your position. You know what? Either this test is inaccurate, but this does kind of make me wonder. If this question genuinely doesn't affect anything, I can't help but wonder if this website, this Political Compass website, is actually there as a way to gather information about people's beliefs and intuitions in order to shape them. Because think about it, they don't want you to use logic. Why don't they want you to use logic? Because they want to manipulate your emotions. So this website's purpose might not be to just create a political model which is used to divide and manipulate people. This website's purpose may actually be to gather information about how people think in order to change how they think and in order to appeal to them. Maybe. Anyway. So, now here we get to social questions, which I'm going to go over very quickly. Right? But if you look at these questions, okay, so this one's number 4 is economic. It's about taxpayers should not be expected to prop up theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. So number 4 is economic. Now, we all know that when you are talking about a theater, it's not the same as talking about a museum. A museum is something where you have things like an artifact that is a national treasure, and you want this to be in private hands. It's never going to happen. So I think if taxpayers want to prop up a theater, maybe okay, you have this community with a theater in it, and the theater's not getting good business, but it increases tourism, people want to see the theater or something. There's reasons why you might want to prop them up, but museums are not like theaters. So, okay, so abortion should always be legal. Right, I don't think that. All authorities should be questioned. Wait, this is... Okay. So that actually does correspond with the whole anarchist thing. And I do think it should be questioned. Doesn't mean I think it should be overthrown, but questioned is good because it teaches you to respect the authority when you get your answer, right? You're not allowed to question it, then you're not going to trust it. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It's no, absolutely not. Now, that's another authoritarian thing, right? But why is that an authoritarian thing? I mean, think about it. If the government assassinates or imprisons one of the community leaders or leaders of a populist movement, then doesn't it kind of go the other way? So how is that an authoritarian thing? Again, this person's thinking, whoever made this test is thinking very institutionally. They're thinking about these are the policies that we're setting as a government. Taxpayers should not be expected. Right, okay. I disagree, right? Because it's all about what people, want. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Absolutely not. Again, that's authoritarianism. Yep. Sorry, you have to get an education. Sorry, you do. I mean, that's just good for people collectively. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us. The different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Okay, I disagree because there's a lot weighing on this should. Who's the one, making this should occur? And that's another authoritarian one. Now, that's interesting. So, it's more authoritarian to keep people to their own kind, to keep people divided. I guess. I suppose that's true because it keeps them from uniting. But isn't it also the recognition of unique identity and nationality which enables people to unite? Because when you have like cosmopolitan liberalism, oh, we're all the same. Okay, well, if we're all the same and you go and you try to talk to someone with a very different culture and, try to interact with them and you act like, oh, we're all the same, you're going to just understand everything I do. It's not going to work. You're going to be rude, you're going to be gross, you're going to feel invasive. It doesn't work. So, when you act like, oh, we're all united and we shouldn't keep to our own kind at all, then you end up offending people and, reinforcing that reaction that, yes, we should because you guys need to get out of here, and stop acting like, you're one of us. But at the same time, when you can recognize that difference and understand, that a lot of people, not all people, have this desire to be among their own type of people, who understand them and stuff, doesn't that also open the door for you to learn about the differences between people and to unite, right? And to unite. Anyway, good parents sometimes have to spank their children. I disagree with that. That's just my opinion. Apparently, that's an authoritarian axis thing. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Some secrets, I agree. That's again another authoritarian thing. Sure, okay. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. I do agree, but I don't know. It is a serious public health issue. In the United States, marijuana use is a very serious public health issue, and we need to be worried about how much THC and at what age and what is the effect of that. We need to be asking those questions and how we can lower the ingestion of THC or the use of THC, especially among young people. It's a very serious question we need to ask, and we need to go as far as we can to eliminate the scourge of cannabis abuse. So, the prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. I mean, I agree. This is interesting. So if you disagree with this, you're more like libertarian, I guess. I suppose. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, people with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. I disagree with that because what am I on? Am I on this one? Yeah, I'm on this one. It's like all the letters are the same, right? But T, 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 W. Yeah, okay. Because, I mean, like, people are not going to be attracted to someone. Unfortunately, you're not very attractive if you have a serious inheritable disability for the most part. So, yeah. Wait. This one. Okay. Most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Is that the most important thing? I suppose I agree. As someone who did not learn to accept enough discipline when I was younger, which caused a lot of problems for me as an adult. There are no savages and civilized people, only different cultures. I disagree with that. Now, that's an authoritarian one. So if you think that, oh no, there's only different cultures, somehow you're more authoritarian. How? Okay. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. This is number 12. Only different cultures makes you more authoritarian. Those who are able to work and refuse opportunities should not expect society's support. I do agree to a good extent, though, you have to acknowledge what are the real needs of society, to be satisfied by labor. You can't just, give people, say you have to work, sell cookies all day when you don't even need somebody to be selling cookies, or you starve to death. That's stupid. That's how it works now. You have to sell coffee and cookies. You have to do pointless work or starve to death now. Or not really starve to death, but live off welfare. I mean, that's what we have now. I mean, not going to defend that, but anyway. So, wait. Again, when you disagree with this, it makes you more authoritarian. Either this website is a little bit broken or this test is like just messed up. I don't understand that. When you're troubled, it is better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. Troubled with what? Troubled with what? Yeah, okay. I see how that's authoritarian because it's like you're gonna be like, man, I just I can't get what I need, I'm hungry. Oh well, instead of blaming the government, I'm just gonna go look at porn or something. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I get how it's authoritarian. It's just sounds so stupid as a question. Okay, first generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. I mean, I kind of agree, like fully integrated. Again, that's authoritarian. So if you are like, think that first gens can't be integrated fully, you're more authoritarian. Okay, I don't know. What's good for the most successful corporations is ultimately good for all of us. Okay, sure, why not? Like, maybe. Whoa, this one really. Okay. Yeah, okay, right. So this is the left wing because it's corporatism versus communism. Okay, sure. No broadcasting institution should receive public funding. No! What? What kind of a question is that? What if there's a hurricane? Are we just going to have private competition between weather services to tell people about a hurricane and FEMA? What are you talking about? Okay. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. I mean, yeah. Okay. One other funky twist with this whole thing. This is asking pretty much how should we orient the current system? Well, what if you want a new system? Then what? Like, say for example, I want like a revolution. Say I'm a hyper revolutionary. Don't I want to say like everything that the government does is maximally oppressive and harmful to me? Like, don't I want to like paint the state as the most sinister thing in existence possible? But then like if I wanted to create a new state, I would have a total opposite view, apologize for everything they do, say it's great, it's all done for the good of the people, pretty much, like if hypothetically, in which case, in such a state, I would strongly disagree because, these are foreign threats to our sovereignty or these, whatever. Right. In which case but as it stands in America, yes, Anyway, a significant advantage one-party states is it avoids all the disagreements of that delay progress in a democratic delay progress in a democratic political system. There's no such thing as one-party democracy, guys. Just so you know. According to this test, there's no such thing as one-party democracy. Democracy is when you get to pick between two different parties that don't represent you. That's what democracy is. All right. So, although the electronic age makes surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. No. I feel like not a lot of people would would agree with that. Okay, the death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. No. Nah. It's authoritarianism, of course. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. It's true. Civilization relies on hierarchy. It doesn't mean every person must, but absolutely, civilization relies on hierarchy. It's true. It is true. Oh, and that's this one. Okay, that's this one, and that's this one. Okay, sure. I want to make them line up, and I think I screwed it up on this section. So let agree, disagree, strongly agree. Okay, here we go. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything should be considered art at all. I mean, if it looks good, it's art, okay? It's very simple. It looks good, it's art. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. I disagree. I think that the function of punishment, the reason punishment is so great, it's not, but the reason it's good is because it takes less resources than rehabilitation. So if you're in a really poor country and you want to deal with a wrongdoer, what's easier to do? Send them to school or slap them in the face or cut off their hand or something? I mean, that's why we have more punishment now. We absolutely do need better, more rehabilitation. Not that I think there should be no punishment, but I mean, come on. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. I'm going to disagree. I think you have to try in order to find out whether it's a waste of time. And that one's going to be, again, authoritarianism, right? Okay, sure. The business person, the manufacturer, are more important than the writer and the artist. I mean, yeah, but is this authoritarian? Yeah, it is. It is. Apparently, authoritarians don't like art. According to this test, like, I don't really understand, they don't, especially don't like abstract art. I mean, this seems like something out of like the sort of CIA playbook to say like, oh, the Soviets, they only like Soviet realism. They only like art which draws how great Stalin is. It shows how great the Soviet, civilization is and all this. They don't like Jackson Pollock and they don't like, it's kind of like it's sort of like saying that, and that's a lie, right? That's a lie. Art absolutely flourished in the Soviet Union. I mean, you can find so much beautiful Soviet cinema and animation and art, so much beautiful art from the Soviet Union. And I mean, I suppose the same is true of like when there was the Tsar, there was a lot of beauty too. But I mean, like and it was not as commercial, right? American art is more commercial. Hipsters should love the Soviet Union because, man, it wasn't commercial, man. It was like self-expression, man. Like they should love the Soviet Union for that reason. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. That's not really my domain, okay? It's not my domain. I guess they say this one's authoritarian. I suppose, but like, if a given people believe that women should be homemakers, right? Your culture is very traditionalist culture. Women should be homemakers. And then you send everybody to school and tell them, no, women should not be homemakers. Women should have careers. Isn't it more authoritarian to go and try to change people's minds about the role of women? Even though the women as individuals have more freedom this way, I suppose. I mean, so I suppose when the state itself is making decisions about gender roles, that is authoritarian. Why should the state be making those decisions? Not that I think authoritarianism is inherently bad, mind you. I just, it's something to be careful with, but multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources. They're exploiting the bodily fluids and plant genetic resources of the developing countries. What does it mean? Do I agree? Sure. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Plant genetic resources. What are you talking about, man? It sounds right to me, though. It sounds like I agree with it. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Oh, man, that one just bugs me. That one really bugs me. All right, anyway. Like, if you're an authoritarian, according to this test, you have to support the current establishment. This is why most, like, Marxist, Leninists, communists, whatever, they're gonna, or dissidents, I should say. Most dissidents who actually may even want, like, a more authoritarian state, just imposing a different type of authority, they're gonna end up libertarian on this test, because according to this test, you can only be authoritarian in favor of your own state, pretty much. Astrology accurately explains many things. What is this? This is authoritarian? If you believe in astrology, you're more authoritarian? Oh, shit. I never even thought about that, because it's like, yeah, because the time you were born actually means like you're predestined to have like a certain set of personality traits. That's hella authoritarian. Damn, I never even thought about that. Because, like, it seems like it's this, like, hippy-dippy, like, oh, free interpretation. But no, man, the stars move like clockwork, and your personality is set. You're set. I'm a Libra. I have to be a Libra. I'm never going to be anything but a Libra. That's hella authoritarian. I never even thought about that. All right, you cannot be moral without being religious. No, it's not true. I don't think you should, like, if you're trying to be moral, you should probably look at what religions believe. You shouldn't just, like... Anyway, charity is better than Social Security as a member of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. No, fuck charity, man. No one should have to do that. No one should have to do that. You're basically just begging, Some people are naturally unlucky. What? Wait, okay. So that's authoritarian. Okay, I get it. Because you have somebody who gets the shit end of the stick in life, and instead of saying, oh, well, we should support them as a society for the collective good, you're just like, nah, you're just unlucky. Just cope. So, yeah, I get it. It's authoritarian, I guess. All right, it is important that my child's school instills religious values. I mean, no, because then you have to pick a religion. But I do think that children should learn about morality in school. It's kind of like you're taught either one of two moralities in school, or maybe both. You learn either a Christian traditional morality or some religion, or you learn like secular, like sociological morality, which is based on like statistics and this sort of institutional science and psychology and all this. Like you don't get to like there are actual secular moral philosophers, many of whom actually try to like abstract the morality of religion into like a greater system, right? But you don't learn about that in school. And like basic stuff like be kind to your neighbor, right? Like basic stuff like that is taught by religion. Schools they try to teach you maybe about like sharing, like good teachers will kind of anyway. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I agree though in a way. Wait, that's authoritarian. Okay. All right. I guess. A same-sex couple in a stable loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Okay. I guess. I don't know. Another authoritarian thing. See, what you'll notice is that this whole authoritarian axis, a lot of this is just based on like liberal versus conservative values as an individual. So like the liberal values apparently are more like anarchistic, and the conservative values are more like, you know, the authoritarian, totalitarian state. But like it completely precludes the possibility of liberal authoritarianism, which is what we currently live under. You know, we like this is like assuming that things are like they used to be in America, where like the Christian conservative, you know, sort of morality would like have a lot of decisive power. In southern states, that could be the case to an extent, but now we have this sort of liberal authoritarianism where like liberalism and cosmopolitanism and all of this is actually kind of imposed on us in a sort of authoritarian way, and this test completely neglects that as a possibility. Completely neglects it. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal. Hot take: I think it should be illegal, because I consider it a public health issue. I do. I think that having free access to pornography, first of all, exposes children to it, which is very psychologically damaging for children, I think. And, you know, I think it is actually a public health issue. What goes on, but, you know, maybe there's a case to make it legal with some limitations or access requirements that would be not as harmful. But anyway, what goes on in private business bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Okay, sure, why not? Why not? You don't want a perverted state that needs to know everything you do in the bedroom. No one can feel naturally homosexual. No. No. At least the science that I'm aware of is no. You don't want to take this too far and say that like everybody who has like some tendency towards homosexuality is fully incapable of changing their sexuality. It's not true, right? It's not true. Or like going the other way about it. But like this is all just see. Here's the problem. I'm getting trapped thinking about this question that I almost know nothing about, because we as humans, we want to like figure out like what makes the most sense for society. So we get like really wrapped up and invested in these questions that we actually like know very little about, just because we want to like be included in the discourse to some extent, but also because we just like naturally want to like figure it out. We're like, why is a person gay? Like what? We want to figure it out, and we want to like make sense of it. You know, it like nags you, it bothers you. But at the end of the day, how much does it really matter? Like, are you going to split with people over this? I don't think I will. Unless somebody like really wants to like do hate crimes or something. Or like wants to like show children like people who are dressed as dogs and drag and stuff. Like those are like super extremes that we're exposed to. Very few people are on those extremes. Like that's like all distractions. Most people are the same as me. They don't know that much about it. They want to make sense of it, and it just fucking confuses them. It gets them wrapped up, and they waste their time thinking about it way too much, right? Like, okay, these days openness about sex has gone too far. Is this one authoritarian? It is, right? It is. But even though the schools are teaching us to be, you know, more open about sex, at least a lot of liberal schools are. And look at that. So let's see. So I either screwed it up a little bit and, I didn't quite get it, but yeah, it ended up in about the same spot. And that is where my political compass stands, but I don't really think that this is a legitimate test of values. I just don't. And I've explained why. I've explained the many problems with it throughout this video. And I know some of you are just going to click, I just want to see his result. I almost don't even want to include the result because I just want to see his result. And then they put me in the box. Whoa, he's actually lib left. Yeah, almost everybody who takes this test is going to end up in the lib left quadrant. Like almost everybody that I know ends up in that quadrant. So, I mean, anyway, that's my result. And yeah, I do consider myself a communist, Marxist, Leninist. And so therefore, according to this test, you're actually wait, where do they put people? North Korea is over here, so you can't support North Korea because you're in the other quadrant. And what else? Like do they have people on the test? Yeah, they have like a thing, people on the test as well. You can't be with Karl Marx. You can't agree with him because you're in the other category. You have to go join Antifa now because, you're lib left now. And you can't be a Marxist because you're not up here because you don't hate gay people and think that, like, all of this stuff and the social authoritarian axis. I mean, literally, like, that's how it works. That's how people think. It's that stupid. It's that stupid. So, anyway, guys, that was a good way to spend an hour of my day. It's cold and rainy out, and, I hope that I have exposed some things to you guys about this completely bonkers test. I hope I've put it in its grave for eternity. I know I haven't, but we'll see. We'll see if people continue to believe in it, because I don't even think they do now. I think it's already dead, honestly. But this website was pretty cool, so I showed it off, and otherwise, this has been Hertz from Bismuth. Remember to like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't like it, comment if you have something to add, maybe I missed something, subscribe for more, and share this video around so that other people can get the message. See you next time.